Hey you guys, welcome back. I'm so excited about this week's video because I want to talk about why this person is in your life, why they were in your life. I think it's so important when you're ending really dysfunctional relationships to be able to kind of like self-reflect. And sometimes it's really, really hard to see the lesson, and it's hard to understand why this person was in your life. And I'm not just talking about understanding, well, this person was in my life because they were supposed to bear my children, or I was supposed to have children with them. And that's what I want you to understand, the lesson behind this relationship. Because when we go through these painful experiences, there's nothing worse than going through pain and not learning anything from it. And when you go through pain and nothing changes, I really do believe that you're going to be faced with a similar situation at some point in time again until you really learn this lesson, or you're just going to continue to suffer because you haven't really embraced what this was supposed to do for you, the blessing that was supposed to come out of this. So let's dive into this. Now, I know most people don't want to hear that someone who's narcissistic, that can completely come into your life and hurt and destroy it, was meant to do this. A lot of people don't want to hear that, and I totally understand. I wouldn't want to hear it either, day one of my separation, but this was meant to happen in the way that it's happening, and I want you to understand why. Now, while most people will think that they're a victim to their circumstance, and while you are a victim to the behaviors and the abuse that you received, you are not a victim to your circumstance. Again, that's something that most people don't like to hear because it's easier to just blame the other person. But here's where you start to actually take your power back, because you're not sitting in a powerful spot when you constantly feel as though you're the victim, because when you're the victim, you're helpless. So remember, even though certain behaviors were not okay and you are a victim to that, we're not a victim to what happens to us, and I want you to understand that those are just two different things. When you witness bad behavior, when you witness toxic behavior, that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of the pain that's going on inside of this person. That's a reflection of the wounds that this person has within themselves. It is, however, a reflection of where you are energetically if you're willing to even engage and tolerate it on any level. Now, here's the truth. The truth is that while this person is doing certain things or did certain things to you that were completely hurtful and ruthless and relentless and conniving and all of those things, we can go down the list. You can just sit here for a minute and think about all the pain that this person has given you or gave you during the course of that relationship. Here's the truth. The truth is that you did see signs. There's not one person that I've ever talked to, myself included, that did not see signs, and we overlooked them. Now, that we're not going to say that and then feel bad and punish ourselves for not knowing what we know now. We didn't know any better because that's where we came from. Our standard was not where it should be. It was lowered. The bar was lowered. What we expect was different than what we expect now in relationships. And even if you were the healthiest, a mask is really hard to spot sometimes. And unless you can see those little chip away red flags, those little things that were poking at you, not the blatant ones. The blatant ones are just black and white. But the little things that you saw, unless you were super strong and powerful and healthy to be able to, number one, spot them, and number two, say, I'm all set, then guess what? You're going to see the mask and you're going to fall in love with it. So this is not about blaming ourselves. This is about educating ourselves. This is about learning more now than what you knew before, which you already have done. That doesn't mean that we go out into the world and we become paranoid, but it does mean that we're smarter than we were before. We're not as naive as we were before. It means that we're going to look a little closer than we did before. And this means that even if we do look closer, because again, you probably saw things earlier anyways, what are we going to do when we start to see some cracks that don't look like they're going to be able to withhold this healthy relationship that we really want? Now, because we did overlook those little tiny things, they began to stack up, and then this really created the relationship that you went into, and it allowed for a lot of the dysfunction that started to happen. And this is where you start to experience the manipulation, the gaslighting, the passive aggressive, the chipping away, the little comments, the feeling of this person judging you, of shaming you. So all of these things started to happen because on some level, you allowed it. you allowed this person to have that kind of control over you. You allowed this person to take away your self-esteem. So you didn't control the behavior that was happening, but you saw the behavior and just grabbed it and ran with it, rather than being healthy and whole and saying, whoa, I see some things that I don't like, and no, I feel really good about myself, and I don't actually need your validation, and I don't need you to approve of me, and this is what I do think, and this is how I do feel, and this is the kind of relationship that I do want. And if you want it, great. But these are things that are going to happen in the relationship. So this isn't about not compromising in relationships, but this is about having a really healthy sense of self, to know who you are. That way no one can really ever throw you off your game. So when you don't understand the basics of having like just a healthy relationship, you don't know what it should look like, what it should feel like, then you don't have even a standard to kind of like go off on. And that's when we start to attract dysfunctional relationships into our life. Because we have to learn these lessons and it's given to us with a lot of pain, it is really the pain that will kind of like jolt us to say, this will never happen again. I have 100% learned this lesson because there was significant pain that was received, and it changed who I am. It woke me up to some things. And these are the things that it woke you up to. Number one, you will never lose yourself in a relationship again. You will always remember who you are. You will always have high standards. You will always be connected to yourself. This is why I tell people all the time, yes, the healthiest thing you can do is get yourself into a good place before you get into a relationship, but don't wait too long, because you're never going to be perfectly healed, and it is going to be relationships that will kind of jolt these wounds and these triggers and these insecurities within us, and those are the opportunities to really parent yourself and love yourself through those things so you can heal them and have great relationships. But in order to be able to do that with a partner, you have to have already learned how to kind of do it by yourself, and you have to really know how to parent yourself extremely well. So you're able to actually put this stuff into practice while you're in a relationship with someone else. The next lesson is you start to learn the difference between chemistry with a person and connection with a person. That is something that I didn't know when I was dating. We always use the word chemistry. I had so much chemistry with them. I have so much chemistry with them. But chemistry and connection are two totally different things. Connection is, can I completely be myself around this person? Can I have absolutely no distractions and just be with them in a quiet room and still have the best day ever? Can I just be vulnerable with them? Do they have empathy? Are we connecting on a really deep emotional levels, or is our connection just kind of surface level? When it's surface level, that's when we could have chemistry with someone, but we're not really connecting in the ways that are going to allow a relationship to sustain the test of time. This person will teach you about vulnerability. They're going to teach you how to be vulnerable with yourself, and they're going to teach you to be able to spot people that are not comfortable with vulnerability. And they're going to teach you about what empathy is and what it should look like in relationships, and the fact that you really expect it in another person. And now these are the things that you're really going to seek out when you are dating. You learn how to set boundaries, and boundaries is not something that you just pull out of your hat when you're dealing with dysfunctional people. Boundaries are things that you need to be doing all the time with everyone in your life, because there's such a thing as the law of familiarity. And whatever you're familiar with, you can possibly start to take advantage of. And so it's important to stay connected with yourself. That way you are always telling people or showing people what they can and cannot do. And this allows for good, respectful relationships versus dysfunctional, unhealthy ones. Another thing that you will learn through this process is you will learn how to fully love yourself. You will learn how to fully accept yourself. Flaws and all, everything, wholeheartedly, really, unconditionally love yourself. When you learn how to do that, you will expect someone, you're never going to pick a partner ever again that doesn't love you in the way that you love you. You're not going to pick a partner that can't see you in the way that you see you. And so that's the beauty that comes, as while this person is tearing you apart, you learn how to put the pieces back together and put them back together in a healthier way than they even were before. You will learn how to not project. It is so common in narcissistic relationships to just start projecting what we want onto other people. It is so unhealthy and dysfunctional to be projecting what we want into other people. And it doesn't allow us to have the relationships that we want. It just means that we're going to project and end up living in a fantasy relationship. I can't tell you how many people I've coached over the years that will look back and say, I never really had the relationship that I thought I had. And it's because the whole time you either projected or you put blinders on to the relationship you were really having because you didn't want to face the truth. And one of the most important lessons that you're going to learn is you're going to learn how to forgive. Forgiveness is something that we have to learn how to do because it allows us to move away from the painful experiences that we do have to experience sometimes in life. And it helps us to move away from the pain and heal the pain in a really healthy and beautiful way, and it allows us to also forgive ourselves for the things that we wish we would have done differently in that relationship, and it allows us to not harbor so much resentment on the other person or put that on ourselves for not doing everything right and making mistakes. And even learning how to accept yourself even in the future, because guess what? You're not going to always make the best decisions even going forward. And can you be okay with knowing that I'm going to try the best I can and hopefully I don't attract this type of relationship again? But even if I do and I start dipping my toe into mucky water, that I'll be okay. You learn how to be your own best friend because of this relationship. These are the things that you're supposed to actually learn from this person. You're not supposed to just receive a bunch of pain, keep that pain with you, keep your heart space closed, still not know how to love yourself, and just be wounded your entire life because of this experience. And this is what, honestly, this is why I started my coaching practice. And this is what I wanted to help people understand and learn and heal from. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on social media. I will link everything down below if you're on Instagram or TikTok, or even joining our Facebook group for all kinds of information and free tips and free videos to help you on your journey. I hope you are well, and I will see you in the next video.